Hey guys, happy Saturday. So interestingly, today yesterday and parts of today, I've been watching EXJW videos. You know, I used to be a Jehovah's Witness. I was a Jehovah's Witness from like 1984 up until like in the mid 2000s. You know, I became inactive at some point in the 2000s. I don't remember because I wasn't keeping a diary. I was just kind of like going with my flow and my rhythm. But as I'm listening to these experiences, you know, I'm like, well, hey, how about I share my experience? You know, I don't regret anything. I don't think life should be. There should be any regrets in life, really. I mean, as long as you learn something, you can take it with you and move on, right? So I wasn't brought up as a witness. I actually chose to be in the religion. In fact, my family, I mean, we never used to open the door. You know, we already knew that we used to say they were a cult. So when I said I was going to study with them, my family was looking at me like, you crazy? I'm like, nah, this is good. This is good. You know, I like what they're saying. So I started studying the Bible, 1983. And then people would say, well, why would you start studying the Bible, right? Keep in mind, I'm from the South Bronx, and the South Bronx in the 70s and the 80s, I don't think I have to paint a picture. I mean, we all know what it was, you know. So when the offer came that you can live forever in paradise, you know, the Live Forever Paradise book, the little red book, that's the book I studied from. You know, and me just being in a vulnerable space, emotionally and mentally, you know, at the age of 17, 18, you know, I hopped on it. You know, I'm like, sounds good to me. You know, it's my way out the ghetto. You know, I'm not a trust fund baby, so sound good to me. So I started studying the Bible, and you know, it was good. You know, and you know, I'm the type of person that if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it all the way. You know, ain't no half stepping. So you know, I got baptized in 85. January 86, I started auxiliary pioneering. 6 months after that, I started regular pioneering. After a couple of years, I moved to California, San Diego, wanted to see what life was like out there. That was like in 1988, 89, totally different culture, background, cool people, great. Came back in 89, served at Bethel as a commuter from 1990 to 1996. And you know, after that, I'm like, okay, you know, there's a lot of things that you see and witness and absorb and observe, right? I wouldn't say anything happened to me personally. However, my energy and my spirit, it doesn't like come across that you can do anything, you know, to me that's crazy. However, I did have some really good friends and came across some people that experienced some of the things that is being spoken about publicly, you know, on the website right now, you know, about the organization. And it always, you know, I was just listening. And watching, right? So in 1996, when I decided that I was gonna stop commuting, because you know, to me, worship is you're supposed to feel it, you know, and be inspired. And it started just becoming to be like a robot routine type of a thing. And so I'm like, and because when you're inside the organization, you know, there's that side talk. You know what I mean? You could be doing everything right, you know, as far as getting 100 hours, you know, going to all the meetings, you know, living an exemplary life, because I did not live a double life. I'm one only. I could barely live my one life. So I wasn't trying to live two lives, right? So you can do all that. And interestingly, still, those subliminal messages at the meetings, it was like you weren't doing enough. You know, it's just never enough. There was like this guilt thing that's just, you know, in your mind, in your head. Like, are you sure you're really studying hard enough? Are you really giving your heart to Jehovah? You know. And so like 96, I'm like, man, I'm, you know, I was thinking about it and I'm like, I'm going to leave. Now, I didn't tell anybody I was leaving. I did confide it in one brother. Bless him. I'm not dropping no names. I'm not dropping any names, you know, so I just wanted to know how I can go about making this transition without, oh, you're leaving, oh, you know, just all the excitement that goes around it, like they really cared. I mean, I'm sure they cared, but if you're an ex-witness, you know exactly what I'm talking about, so I don't have to go into detail and explain it because I know you all get it. So, you know, I put in the letter, and then, you know, after I put in the letter, then I just told people I was leaving, and they were really supportive. I still got my card here, you know, that everybody signed. Yes, I still have it, because it's nothing like, you know, when you grow up in age, you look back through your life journey, and you're like, oh, wow, look at that. So I still have all the well wishes and everything that people wrote me and gave me. So, you know, I came out, right? Because, okay, I was commuting. So when you're commuting, you're not necessarily out on the concrete. You know what I'm saying? Like, pounding the pavement, right? Because I did that for like 6 years, right? So I wasn't really pounding the pavement like that. You know, I was at Bethel. So, you know, we kind of like worked, you know, and I did professional cleaning in the public areas in 124, 25, Bossert, whole shebang. And so when I came back out, you know, it was kind of hard adjusting to the streets. It was kind of hard hitting that pavement, you know, knocking on doors, you know. But I said, hey, you know, let's go ahead and give it a shot. So I said, okay, so what's next? You know, because you're a sister in the organization, right? So you can't really do too much, you know, other than pioneer, commute to Bethel, and serve where the need is great. You know what I mean? It's not like you're going to be traveling to China to go give a talk, you know, like brothers do, right? Traveling around the world. But they were, there was people serving in the DR. You know, it was considered a third world back in 1990. So I went there for 3 months. I applied, and you know, and I got in. It was really nice because the friends literally contributed. They donated things, you know, get some funds. So I went out there for 3 months and lived in the Campo. Actually toured around the whole country, went to Samana, different places, and it was kind of interesting to see, because we lived in kind of like a house, and I got to stay at a missionary house for a day and just see how they operated and moved. And you know, it is what it is. It's you know, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I will say this, that I wasn't like, oh, this is like really awesome. How cool is this? This is how missionaries live. Great. No, it wasn't bad, but it was just kind of like in the DR, but the same, you know, circumstances, situations, bureaucracy that exists, you know. And I was a little thrown back to see some of the things happening in the missionary home, or people, you know, serving where the need is great. You know, going out in service, you know how they tell us not to, you know, interact with anybody that's worldly, especially worldly men, you know. And, you know, you've seen a couple of that stuff going on, but like I told you, I was straight, you know what I'm saying? If this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing. Because I've always felt that, you know, my God sees me, and that's who I have to answer to. You know, forget about the people. It's my God I have to answer to, right? All right, so I did that. It was cool. I came back. I'm like, okay, so now I'm back locally here in Brooklyn, hitting the streets. So I don't remember what year this was, but I know that we were getting up, going out and street work. I'll never forget. It was on 4th Avenue on Warren. We were between Baltic and Warren. And I was walking down the street and I said, I was talking to Joe. I said, you know what? I said, this is going to be the last day I'm going to be out in service. And I'm looking at the friends, and in my mind, I'm like, they don't even have a clue that I'm just about to just stop all of this, because in all sincerity, I like I said, I was sincere, so I didn't want to bring reproach, on the organization or definitely on Jehovah's name. And I'm like, well, I can't hide from my God. You know what I'm saying? So I figured, like, I'm gonna have to bow out. Now the question was, how was I going to bow out, right? Because I'm like, how am I gonna get this fellowship when I gave my entire heart and soul sincerely? Like, and if I don't want to do this anymore, how are they gonna disfellowship me? You know what I'm saying? And then I was getting a little thirsty, if you know what I mean, right? It's kind of like life, you get thirsty, you need to drink some water. And it was time for me to start having some water. So I was just kind of like, okay, so how am I going to navigate this? So, just talking, observing to people, and they're like, hey, well, people get this fellowship because they be living a double life, right? So if you're not going out preaching, turning in time, then there's no reproach you're bringing on the organization. And I was just thinking, I was like, okay, cool. So it was one Thursday. I don't know if it was a Thursday meeting, Tuesday meeting, whenever the school meeting was, because when I was going, there was still the school, and then the book study, and Sunday. And so the brother was giving a talk, and he goes, well, sometimes, I think he was referring to like the elders, the older people in the congregation. Like sometimes if it's too much for you, to do this, it's okay that you say that, you don't want to be a part of the school anymore, because we understand, right? And I thought to myself, it was at that meeting, I went right up to the school overseer and said, you know what? The school is a little too much for me. So I would like to be removed from it, right? Now, of course, that was kind of like a shock, because that's from a person who came in, auxiliary pioneered, went to Bethel, served in a foreign country, and then, out of nowhere, it's kind of like, I don't want to be on the school anymore. But what I did notice, I'm kind of like backing up. What I did notice was kind of interesting, right? Because when I was pioneering, they give you the accolades, oh, woo, pioneer, but yet you still get criticism from your pioneers who's pioneering with you. The sisters had a very interesting way of, like that. I want to call it competition. I don't compete. I don't compete with people, but competition, brothers, ours, this. It just wasn't my thing. But, don't get it twisted. It's not like I'm not aware that it didn't exist. I was aware that it exists. So, I forgot what I was saying. With the... getting off the school, I decided to get off the ministry school, and in any event, so this is what I was gonna say. When I stopped commuting at Bethel, and I'm here in Brooklyn, right? So when I stopped commuting at Bethel, I kind of like noticed it was like a silent thing, like a silent judgment. That's what it was. It was a silent judgment. And it was tripping me out, because I'm like, I'm still the same person that I was when I was commuting, but I just noticed that's like silent judgment. And then, of course, like, I served with Anita's grade. Of course, I was pioneering, but when I came back, I stopped pioneering. And man, you would have thought that, you know, I got pregnant, or, you know, I got busted, you know, getting some water. But that wasn't the case. And I just noticed, like, you know, people not talking to me as much, or not being friendly. And I don't know if it was in my mind, but I mean, you're XJW, so you, when I upload this, you give me your comments. Tell me what you think, right? I just felt like people were just kind of like backing away, like I was no longer spiritual, you know, spiritual. But, you know, I'm in a situation that, like, you know, I'm single. And like I said, I don't have a trust fund. And you know, I don't have anybody supporting me but me. And you think I'm going to be living with roommates? I was like in my early 30s. Like, I'm going to be living with women for the rest of my life? I love, you know, I'm a sister kind of girl. So I'm all about supporting my sisters and being cool. I can't say that it's always been given to me 100% back. A lot have, you know, but there's some who didn't. But I needed to like go to work and, you know, start taking care of myself full time. I've always taken care of myself, but it was part time, but I need to start working full time. So, you know, those was just some things that I saw and felt, and I'm just like, wow, that's shady. And it was kind of, it was surprising, but it wasn't surprising because remember, I was around, so I would hear them say and judge and talk about people if they stopped pioneering, or if they didn't get their time, or if they did this. And in my brain, I'm just kind of like, well, so? I mean, people are doing the best they can, right? But I also know that when I first came in, yeah, I was definitely gun-ho. And you, so I mean, I probably gave that energy out too. I'm not even gonna perpetrate and act like I didn't, because I was truly like, if you weren't like pioneering or, you know, reaching out in the congregation, you know, not that I didn't hang out or speak with you or talk with you, because I mean, I think anyone can say that I worked with any and everybody that was, you know, available and willing. But I just had this, you know, I was tunnel vision. So to make a long story short, you know, it just got to a point where, you know, I'm like, if I'm serving God, I mean, there's supposed to be some type of joy and freedom, and, you know, the truth will set you free, right? And I wasn't feeling any of that. In fact, I was feeling like I was being robotic. It definitely wasn't coming from my heart, and I can't really do anything that's, and especially if it's involved in worship, you know, if I'm not feeling it from my heart, then what's the whole point of me doing it? I'm like, God knows, so why am I going to continually do something that I'm not actually feeling, you know, that it's not coming from my heart? So I had to fade to black, you know, but I just kind of like backed, you know, I just did the backslide. You know, but I would go back and forth, you know, every once in a while. So I wouldn't, you know, definitely not, you know, ain't nobody having a meeting, you know, because I'm not on the school, I'm not going out serving. Like, I ain't gonna sit down and talk to you, you know, about my updates in life. We ain't doing that. I mean, because I've seen enough to know. I was like, I'm going to be like the brothers. You know, sisters always want to be like, oh, well, this is what happened. And I see what happens when they do that. Then I'm looking at brothers, they don't be saying nothing. I said, yeah, right. I'm going to follow the brothers' examples. They're the heads, right? So learn from the ones that's the head of the congregation. I know I'm making light of it, but that's my journey, and part of my journey. I mean, of course, there's a lot of stories and more detailed things that transpired in since 1983, 84 up until like 2000s. Like, of course, there's a lot of things in there, but so when I backed out, right? How many minutes? 19 minutes. I don't know how long they allow videos. I mean, how long my video is supposed to be. But in any event, like when I backed out, I really took it just kind of like, okay, I'm gonna die. You know, they say that, you know, when you're dead, you won't know anything. So, you know, that's it. I just accepted it. Like, I'm going to die. It's me. So when people ask, I'm like, it's me. You know, I guess I'm just going to die. So I told the elders, I guess I'm just going to die. You know, it's all good. You ain't going to remember me, so you don't have to worry about it. Because you know how they try to, well, are you sure? I'm like, don't worry about it. You ain't going to remember me. You know, you're going to live forever. I'm not going to come into your mind or heart. This is what it is. So I just took the brunt of it, you know, and I wasn't trying to put any of that responsibility on the organization at all. And like 1,000, I just took it. Of course, when I'm talking to, you know, because I still have witnesses who were active that I was talking to and confiding in, and of course I use a couple of choice words about people and things and situations, you know, I still had them, but technically, you know, publicly I just kept it like, all right. So it was 2019, right? And then I had this brother came back that they called me an apostate. I was like, I just left Bethel and started pioneering. Like, how the fuck am I an apostate? Like, what is that? And that ticked me off because I wasn't looking at anything, reading anything extra. I was going straight up off my gut intuition. I'm like, it ain't flowing with me. I'm not doing it anymore, right? But I always thought, like, well, maybe I'll go back. So it was in 2019. I was like, they calling me an apostate. The nerve, right? So then that's made me, I'm like, well, let me look. Guess who I'm looking on the internet, and I came across EXJW Critical Thinker. Now, of course, I'm going to be like super careful, but when I saw them, I said, I was at Bethel with them. We sat at across tables. You know, like you're in different dining rooms. And I said, I know them. So they were actually the first video that I watched. Because I felt like, now they served at Bethel where I served at. They sat at the Bossard. I know they did. Or in Towers, one of them. And so I was like, let me listen to them. So when I started listening to them, and all the things that I was thinking and feeling and observing, I was like, oh shit, so you mean I'm not the only one? That was like a relief, but I was like, oh my goodness, because I just took the brunt. Like, okay, it's me, you know, I'm a black sheep, I'm a rebel, you know, I guess, whatever. So when I saw their video, I was like, and I know they didn't have to convince me because I lived it, but to hear somebody else share their experience, I was like, wow. And then of course, I just start listening to, Lloyd Evans too. He breaks that down, like thumbs up to him. EXJW 5th, I totally digged his story because everything that they were saying I was able to relate to. Just recently I listened to Sean Breed. Now that brother is genius on how he breaks down just think, right? So it's kind of like encouraging. I don't watch the videos a lot because I'm just like, this is really not a part of my life, you know, anymore. However, I'm always, you know, cordial and nice to people. And I didn't really want to do a video because I'm like, well, you know, I still got a couple of people I talk to here and there, but they know my stand. Like, you know, they're like, you coming back? I'm like, absolutely not. But so I just thought I'd share this, you know, and it'll be interesting to see if I get any feedback, if in my journey of those years, someone I pioneered with or served at Bethel with, or, you know, who knows, maybe somebody in the DR, you know, maybe an actor. You know, when I lived out in California, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I know there's not going to be any Jehovah's Witnesses seeing this video because the title of this is called EXJW, Where Should I Start? So nobody is even gonna, who's a witness is even going to see this. I'm sure of it. So I'm just sharing this for the XJWs, and you know, life is a journey, and it's time to move forward. I mean, life definitely doesn't stop. You can still keep going. Respect your gut, respect your intuition. Know that we're all created in God's image, and you know, keep walking in peace, love, and light. All right, so this is my first video, and hopefully, I don't know, maybe there'll be a second one. All right, ciao, ciao.